Good morning, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here to be able to show you what we have done in order to improve the way you can access information in ECHA's databases. We strongly believe that this is important because it will allow you, workers dealing with chemicals, academic researchers, authorities, and society at large to know more about the effects of the chemicals we use every day in Europe. So, what does ECHA website has to offer, and how is the information being displayed? Well, have you ever wondered what kind of dangerous chemicals exist in your computers? Or why BPA free label is used as a marketing label in plastic containers? Or even why shampoo or some shampoos may be more irritant than others? Or in general, what is being done to assure that dangerous chemicals are properly managed and controlled in Europe? Well, now you can answer to all these questions and more in the ECHA website. But more importantly, the information is displayed in such a way, from more simple to more detailed, that even non-expert audiences will be able to better understand the hazardous properties of chemicals, how they might be exposed to it, and what is being done in Europe to assure the proper management of these substances. All of this in plain English. So through a couple of examples, I would like to show in practice how you can search for a chemical substance, what type of information you can find, and how the information is displayed from more simple to more detailed, starting with an infocard, the simplest level of information available in our website, the brief profile, which is an intermediate level of summarization of the information available in ECHA databases, and finally an example of the source data. During this demonstration, the video transmission will be suspended, and approximately in 10 minutes we will resume the video transmission when we finish the demonstration. So without further delay, imagine that you just bought a water bottle that contains the label BPA-free, which triggers your curiosity, and you want to know more why some brands don't want to have their products associated with this chemical. So you can now go to ECHA website, and on the top right corner we have a search for chemicals box, or simple search, where you can type BPA. The search is performed not only in the scientific chemical names, but also in trade names, synonyms, and so on. We have an exact match for the search term BPA in the first row of the results. Above, we have the chemical name of the substance indicated in blue. Pressing the chemical substance name, you access the infocard. The infocard summarizes relevant information on chemical substances in a user-friendly and readable format for both expert and non-expert audiences. It has 6 main sections. On the far left, we have the substance identity, which includes the most relevant substance identifiers as well as a graphic representation of the molecular structure. In the center, you have information on the substance hazards classification. This is how authorities and companies have classified the substance hazardness. It may cause serious eye damage, is suspected of damaging fertility, or may cause an allergic skin reaction. And also, you have the labeling, this diamond-shaped icon entitled hazard pictogram that you might recognize from products you use every day, such as dishwashing liquid, and that is intended to provide information about the damage the substance can cause to your health or to the environment. On the far right, you have another graphical indication of hazardous effects regarded as critical for human health and the environment, such as sensitization. This is, it causes allergic reaction. For other substances, it can be highlighted if the substance is carcinogenic, if it's persistent in the environment or bioaccumulative. Below, you find important to know section, highlighting the main actions taken by authorities to manage and control the use of the substance. And further below, you can have information on how to use the chemical substance safely according to the information provided by companies. But more importantly, further below, you have information on substance uses, how you, consumers or workers in general, are likely to be exposed, and what are the releases to the environment of the substance, and what type of articles or products where you can find this substance. It is also important to mention that each one of the sections of the infocard has a context-sensitive help, represented by the question mark, that provides detailed information on where the data is derived from and helps you to understand the type of information displayed, providing links to further information. The infocard is also downloadable and printed in a user-friendly format. From tomorrow, you will be able to access approximately 120,000 substance infocards on ECHA website, corresponding to the first level of information available on ECHA's website. For 14,000 substances, which correspond to the Chemical Substance Register and the REACH regulation, and for which companies have provided scientific data, there will also be a brief profile. But for that, let's use another example. Going back to the ECHA's main page, or landing page, I will perform a search with a known chemical, cadmium. I will use one of the options of the autocomplete that will lead directly to the infocard. In the infocard, you can promptly see that cadmium is a flammable substance, poses serious health risks, and that is hazardous to the environment. You can also see in the Important to Know section that cadmium is already identified as a substance of very high concern and included in the candidate list for authorization, meaning that in the future, the type of uses given to the substance may require an authorization permission from authorities. And you can also see that now the substance uses are already restricted. Finally, you can further investigate the type of articles or products where it can be found. For instance, cadmium can be found in electronic products such as computers, it can be found in electrical batteries, and so on and so forth. From the infocard, you can access the brief profile. The substance brief profile represents an intermediate level of information complexity in between the infocard and the source data. It has two main areas, the substance description and the scientific properties. Substance description extends the information of the infocard. For example, and now I will use the navigation menu on the right side of the screen, the brief profile provides an overview of the classification labeling inventory, including the level of agreement in between companies on the hazardness of the substance, through this graphical representation on the right side. Under regulatory activities, you can find an overview of the main actions taken by the authorities in order to control and manage the substance. You can also find a list of manufacturers and suppliers of the substance. And finally, you can find other names for the substance. The scientific properties summarize the information provided by companies to ECHA in what concerns environmental, human health, and physical-chemical properties of a chemical. You can look for a specific scientific property of the substance in the navigation menu on the right side of the screen. For example, let's look for ecotoxicological information, long-term toxicity to fish. Each scientific property block includes study results provided by companies in a summarized format in the left side, and an overview of the type of studies provided by companies on the center of the page. For instance, is the study an experimental study? Is it based on estimations? Is it a key study? Or is it a supporting study? In other words, it provides the first indication on the type of results reliability and type of information available in the source data. In the brief profiles, as in the infocards, the data can be downloaded and printed on the top right corner, and there is a context-sensitive help in every single section, and that provides detailed information on where the data is derived from. of very interest is also the possibility from every section of the infocard of the brief profile to access the source data by pressing this arrow icon. There, you can access the details on the studies, conditions, and conclusions conducted by the companies. Or, for instance, going back to the substance description, regulatory activities, you can have direct links to the decisions made by the agency or assessment reports prepared by the member state authorities. But the novelties are not limited to the infocard and brief profile. We have also implemented a new advanced search functionality that will allow you to perform complex searches in multiple sources simultaneously. The advanced search is accessible from the same pages where the search for chemicals box is displayed. So I will go back to the main ECHA website. In the search box, you can find the link to the advanced search. At the moment, the advanced search has 6 main sections. You can perform searches on substance identity and structural information, searches on the hazards notified in the classification labeling inventory, searches on data provided by companies in rich dossiers on uses and exposure, and searches per regulatory activity and hazardous effect. So, for example, suppose you want to search for substances that are registered under REACH regulation as used in the manufacture of wood and wood products that are considered to be carcinogenic. You can go to Uses and Exposure section, select Sector of Use, Manufacture of wood and wood products, and go to Hazardous Effects and select Carcinogenic. This query returns 18 results. You can press the substance chemical name to access the infocard or go directly to the brief profile if you're interested in a specific scientific property of the substance. For example, pressing the formaldehyde, you can promptly see that the substance is not only carcinogenic, but also a sensitizer, and that other types of uses were communicated to the agency. For instance, that the substance is used in adhesives and sealants. But let me give you another example on the type of questions you can try to answer with ECHA's website information. Why some shampoos may be more irritant than others? Picking up one of the constituents of a shampoo that you can find on the package label, for example, sodium lactate, you can verify that companies have already identified that the substance causes eye irritation. So depending on its concentration in a shampoo, it can cause more or less irritation. To summarize, and taking in consideration the wealth of information made publicly available in ECHA websites, we have implemented a progressive disclosure of information from more simple to more detailed, where we try to fit the needs of different users. To illustrate the volume of information that can be accessed in the ECHA website source data, if you would try to print this information, you would need to print approximately 1,000 pages. From tomorrow, you can print the digest version of this information, the most simple and most relevant information, in an infocard, half a page. You can print a summarized version of this information, which is the brief profile, with approximately 10 to 15 pages. And finally, you can still access all the information that is currently being published in the website, which would correspond to the 1,000 pages. So this is all from my side. Thank you very much for your attention. I will now like to give the floor to Christelle, that will provide further context on the importance of the information available in ECHA website.
Thank you, Thiago, and good morning, everyone. And indeed, now that Thiago has shown you our new way of publishing the information that we have received from companies the last 8 years, I would like to put this work into the worldwide context. And for doing this, let's go back to Johannesburg in 2002 at the World Summit on Sustainable Development. And at that time, the international community has made a number of commitments on sustainable development. And one of them is that by 2020, the chemicals, we should know much more on the chemicals that we are using, how to use them safely, and also that the public should be informed on this. The information that we have on these chemicals should be made available to the public. So in Europe, there are two legislation that establish the framework to achieve this ambitious goal. And one of them is REACH, the Registration, Evaluation, Authorization of Chemicals. And the other one is the Classification, Labeling, and Packaging legislation. There are two key fundamental principles that underpin these two legislation. One of them is that the companies are responsible, and the companies are responsible for making sure that their substance can be used safely. And for that, they have to collect information on the properties and the use of their substances. They have to assess the properties, and they have to provide safety advice, not only to their workers, but also to the companies, their clients, the companies using these chemicals until the very end user. The other principle, which is extremely important in this legislation, is that the consumers have the right to know, what is called the right to know, the public right to know. The consumers should have the information necessary to make informed choices on the chemical they buy and the chemical they are exposed to. So the main question is REACH on its way to deliver? And how far have we got so far after 8 years of operation of this legislation? Well, let me share you some numbers. So far, we have 14,000 substances which are on the EU market have been registered by the chemical companies. And for these substances, we have received comprehensive information. 120,000 substances have been classified. And what this means with classification is that the companies have looked at their properties and provide now labels on their labels, safety advice on the labels and the packaging of the substance or the products. Of course, if needed, it's not needed in all cases. The 1,500 substances have been checked by ECHA, by the agency, and by the European authorities in some cases, and with a focus on substances that matter most for the environment and the human health. 168 substances have been identified as most hazardous, and overall, 460 proposals have been made at EU level to manage the risks. And last but not least, in our database, we have more than 2 million results of studies on the properties and effects of chemicals. So all these numbers to say that, yes, the information has been collected, is there to be used. This information is available on our website, but also on the OECD ECHA portal, which collects not only the information from Europe coming from ECHA, but also from other countries in the world. The information on our website is used worldwide by the authorities, at EU level, of course, but also some other countries like Canada and Australia, for example, use it for their own assessment of chemicals. The companies are using this information to their own registration, but also to make informed and sustainable business decision. Will they, yes or no, develop certain products? The civil society, the NGOs, are able to verify the information and hold the industry and authorities to account when needed. And of course, the citizens can now find information about the products they use. So, in a nutshell, Europe is now playing a leading role. We should be proud of this achievement, but certainly not complacent, because there's still much work to be done to achieve a toxic-free environment. We would like you to help us. You can play a strong role. You can, for example, make this website known from your users, from your readers. And of course, then they will be able to exercise their rights and to know about the information, the chemicals they have in their products. You can use it yourself for your articles and hold also companies and authorities to account if needed because what our main goal is to have chemicals, making chemicals use safer in Europe. So with that, I would like to thank you for your attention, and we will be happy now to reply to your questions.
Thank you, Tiago. Thank you, Christelle. Indeed, now it's time for your questions. For those who joined in a bit late, you can send in your question to the Q&A panel on the right-hand side of the screen. We have here a request for clarification. What is the number of substances on the info cards?
Will you take it, Tiago?
Yes, thank you. So we will have 120,000 substances info cards. And for brief profiles, we will have 14,000 brief profiles.
Okay. Then will we be able to see the dossiers that have been evaluated? How will dossiers that are subject to a statement of non-compliance be included in the database?
So the dossier, so as I said in the presentation, we have checked approximately 1,500 substances dossier. And the information is you can see the result of this assessment and the decision on evaluation on our website. What we plan to do in the future is to link this information much more with the infocard and the brief profile, so that there is direct understanding whether a substance has been verified for compliance. This is the plan for the future, not realized fully yet.
Okay. Then will it be possible to search for substances in a database that meet the REACH SVHC criteria?
Definitely. It will be possible through the advanced search to look specifically for substances that are already included in the candidate list and that met the substance of very high concern criteria. Also, it's possible to look for the classification of the substances in the advanced search, and therefore indirectly to match the criteria to meet the SVHC list. Important to mention also that inside the candidate list it's possible now to filter out the substances included in the candidate list by type of concern.
Okay. Then is there some kind of a feedback mechanism where stakeholders could give feedback?
So at the moment, any feedback is very welcome, and we want to improve the way we are actually publishing and the type of information that we are publishing in infocard and brief profiles. So if there is any comment and any feedback on the information provided, it can come through, there are links directly in the website and on the information on chemicals page, and it will be addressed directly by our help desk.
Thank you. Based on your example, Tiago, about the BPA, how can consumers, or is there a possibility for consumers to find out what has been used instead of BPA through the database?
What have been used in a certain product?
Yes, there might be a product which is BPA free, but can consumers find out what has been used instead?
No, through our database it's not possible to have that type of information because we don't have the information on the composition, on the constituents of a product that or article that consumers buy in everyday in their daily life. However, having the product, for instance, if it's a cosmetic product, they can look at the label, and through the constituents, then they can look in our website to have more information on the constituents of their chemical products.
And of course, there is also the possibility to search per use and verify whether for a certain product to search by the use and see which kind of substance we find on certain products, but it's not a direct information. You have to dig a bit in the information.
Okay, then about the ownership of the data. Who owns the data we publish on the website?
Well, the data is that we have, the vast majority of the information is coming from the companies through their registration, through their notification to the CNL inventory. And it remains the property of the companies for 12 years. So there are clear description of copyright issues on the website. The part that is coming from ECHA and from the EU authorities is a different story, because what we are publishing is the result of assessment, decisions, and that is available for consultation, of course.
Okay. Then additional question to the SVHC one, can you also search on the other factors used to place substances on the candidate list and ultimately in the authorization list? For example, the wide dispersive uses.
Would you take it?
Yes. So, as already mentioned, it's possible to perform searches based on the uses provided and communicated by companies to ECHA. And therefore, it's possible to find information, find the substance that would match those criteria.
Okay, then about the translation, different language versions. The database currently in English. Will it be translated at some point?
Well, the database is indeed in English. All the information is published. Coming from the dossier is published in English. This is technically possible to translate it, and we have not taken any decision on that matter yet, and we have not any date to see whether we will publish in different EU languages.
Okay. Then a bit more about the consumer use and how they can benefit from the database. So what's your opinion? How can an average consumer take advantage of this information?
Well, from our perspective, what a consumer can do is really, as Thiago explained, look at the labels, look at the composition of the product they are using, and connect on our website to have an estimation, an assessment of whether or not it contains hazardous substances. Now, something which is very important to know is that in one product, the substance is used in certain, how do you say? Concentration, thank you. And therefore, depending on the concentration, there is a potential hazard or not. And that is, of course, for the consumers difficult to understand that. And of course, there are other ways of consulting medical doctors or consulting to know much more about how to use the products for now.
Okay.
So it's in a nutshell, it's very useful information. It's summarized in a way that you can have an understanding whether the substance poses a risk or not for the products, but to know if in your product itself there is a risk, there is a bit more to know.
Okay, thank you. Then about the future plans for the dissemination portal. Could you tell us a bit more about those?
Well, I can start, and then Thiago, you can complement. Of course, that's what we would like to do with this portal is broaden it to other legislation that exists in Europe. For example, we have already on our website a lot of information on biocide and on the traded chemicals, and that we would like to integrate much more this information with the infocards and the brief profiles. And the way the system is built, our portal is built, there is no thing that prevents us to integrate much more information in the future coming from other EU legislation. But in the short term, we have other plans, and I give the floor to Thiago to explain.
Yes, indeed. Our immediate future is focusing on how we can better integrate all the information we have in ECHA databases to allow better searches, to allow greater predictability in what will be the next steps in terms of managing and control the chemicals. Also, we are really looking into finding new ways on how to make the data available to industry, NGOs, researchers, so that it can be reused for instance, making safety data sheets or further process to be able to, so for instance, that NGOs could actually digest and make the information more friendly for their own stakeholders.
Yes, and to conclude on that, coming back to a question that we have received already, what we would like is to make clear whether a substance has been yes or not evaluated, has gone on the dossier evaluation process by ECHA, and what is the result of the evaluation process. So that should be made much more visible on the website in the future.
Okay. Then how will the database handle dossier updates?
Well, Thiago, you
Well,
maybe
the database, immediately after there is an update and the dossier update is processed, the information will be immediately published in our website, and consequently, automatically, also the infocard and brief profile will be regenerated with the new information. Of course, when I mean update, it will not be instantly, but we expect that in full operation we will have daily updates of the information.
Thank you. Then a bit about the buyer sites. What does the database include on buyer sites and even PIC?
So at the moment, the brief profile makes already a reference if the substance is included in PIC or if it's being also managed in biocides regulation. We expect that in the near future we also be able to include in the brief profile information coming from the active substances and the dossiers provided by in the biocides process. So this is something we are working on, and that we plan also to expand not only to rich dossiers but also to biocides information.
Okay, thank you. Then the plasticizer DEHP is a hot topic at the moment. Could you show us what we can find on that substance on the database?
Certainly, let's go. I will go back to the ECHA's website. And I will type assert DEHP. So again, we have the first, in the results page, we have the name associated, the chemical name associated with DEHP. And if I would press in the link, I will access the infocard, and immediately, as shown in the previous examples, I will have the classification, the harmonized classification and labeling approved by the European Union, mentioning that the substance may damage fertility and may damage the unborn child, but also we can already see that additionally the companies have already classified the substance as very toxic to aquatic life. Furthermore, we can already see that authorities are already consider the substance to be of very high concern, and that requires authorization before it's used. The type of uses need to be authorized by the authorities, and also that some uses of the substance are already restricted. So very in a nutshell, we can see what are the most hazards, the highest hazards of the substance. We can see what the authorities are doing in order to properly manage the substance, and we can have information on the type of uses, the type of releases, and the type of articles where we can find the substance.
Thank you. Then we have a question about the manufacturers of the substance. Are you able to see the manufacturers and the production volumes of a certain substance?
So yes, it's possible to see the manufacturers and suppliers of the substance, both in the brief profile and in the source data, the registered dossier, with a few exceptions, for instance, if it's claimed confidential. But even in those cases, it's very transparent that some of this information was claimed confidential, and there are some of the names of the suppliers and manufacturers that are not being displayed. Concerning the volume, it's possible to have information on the aggregated volume of the substance, not per manufacturer or supplier, but in overall for all the substance.
Okay, it seems we have no more questions, so I thank you, Thiago, Crystal, again, and thank you very much for joining our briefing. As Thiago already mentioned, we are launching the database tomorrow around noon Helsinki time, so keep an eye on our website and try it out as soon as you can. I will be sending you an embargoed copy of our press release, which we will publish together with the launch. If you would like to receive the press release in your own language, please let us know through the press@echa.europa.eu functional mailbox. We are also sending you a feedback survey to your inbox. We would really appreciate if you could spare a few minutes and respond to that and help us serve you better in the future. Again, thank you and see you around.